I'm going to talk to you about GFT Resources, talk to you about our history, background, where we're going. As Chen mentioned, we're in the Abitibi. I think we're a great opportunity. I'm going to touch base on Rattlesnake Hills. GFT Resources, go for gold or gift from God. Forward-looking statements here. Just please review for your cautionary language here. We set GFT up about 6 years ago. We're a district-scale explorer. We're based in Saskatoon. Most of the management is Exclode Resources, and historically ran the CB mine and sold it into SSR under a good transaction. So we're a team that's done it before. We found ore bodies, built mines, and operated them. District consolidation's our game, so we put a couple big districts together. We typically put the money into the ground. We're not generators per se, and we're working in belts that have yielded big gold deposits historically. I think as we've alluded to in this session with Relevant, the Abitibi has a lot of big gold deposits, and that's where we're truly focused. Before I go into the technical details, I'll talk a bit about some of the share structure here. We're about a 25 million market cap company. We'd have about $2 to $3 million in the bank as of the end of Q3 last year. Probably around $1 to $1.5 million as we speak today. Pretty proud of our shareholder base. The Lundin family in Geneva, Alamos Gold, our two largest shareholders. Insiders have participated in all our financings and continue to support the company as well. Myself, Rick Johnson, Anders Carlson, and Mark Lepage were all Exclode Resources, part of the good story that came out of that. I'll obviously thank our board of directors as well, Patrick Downey, Brian Booth, Lisa, and Arnold Klassen. These are very successful individuals that have been in the gold space for years and years. When we think about why gold exploration, and I think Chen gave us some good macro fundamentals of where the space would go and what the drivers are, I focus far more on the technical end of things and how we can make gold discoveries. And the chart there shows the discovery trend, which is rather uninspiring over the last 3 decades. But it does show the importance of finding the right team and really understanding how they go about their business model. At GFT, we put big belts together. We don't do it anywhere. We look at a lot of historical production. We look at infrastructure. We look at all the details. In the end, we've chosen to be in the Abitibi for a lot of reasons. I'm going to talk to you about that in the next slide. But we put these big belts together. I think we're a very formidable team in looking undercover. And I think the Abitibi offers a lot of those opportunities. When we think about the Western Abitibi, and this map is the Abitibi of Ontario, there's about 150 million ounces of gold in that map. It's probably one of the most well-endowed pieces of crust in Earth. And I think it's a great place to make the next discovery as well. If you looked at the number of million-plus ounce gold deposits on that map, there's literally dozens of them. I think there's a lot more to be found. So the first place we start is Gold Endowment. GFT owns that the land tenements in red, which is about 800 square kilometers. Next to Newmont, we are the largest landholder in this area, and we've done it successfully over about 5 years of land consolidation, Penn and Doré initially, subsequently adding Gold Arm to the property portfolio. When we look at this area, I think infrastructure is key. You've got 4 or 5 main mill producing pieces of infrastructure. Côté being built down in the southwest, which is a 36,000 ton a day mill. This all reflects the endowment here. Commitment to the majors to this camp is ongoing. You see billions of dollars being poured into this camp because there's lots of gold being produced here, and there's a lot more to be found. Statement at the bottom, there's a need for feed. I think we'll find more gold in this belt. There's lots of infrastructure here. There's lots of people here. There's lots of cover rocks. These are the reasons that GFT put this land portfolio together. We've been active here for about 3 years. We're very newsy. We gel throughout the year. You can count on us for putting a good press release out every month or two. These are all economic hits. We've worked throughout COVID, publishing continuous economic intercepts, 10 grams over 16 meters, 100, 150, 50 gram meter product. These are very solid intercepts, and I think they exemplify the potential of what we're seeing at Gold Arm. I'm going to spend most of this time talking about Gold Arm. Montclair project in particular, the left map is where we started, and all I'm trying to do is show the succession here of our logic. We started with a number of holes drilled in that left cross-section, some of them vertical, some of them inclined, some of them from the 40s and 30s, some of them from the 80s. In the end, we saw a bulk tonnage system near surface. We saw depth potential that could be high grade. The first year, which is 2022, we stepped out and we did some drilling there. We proved this shallow concept of bulk tonnage material. 2023, last year, we continued to show the upper and lower main zones have continuity. Just for scale, that first graph marked down the bottom right of there is 200 meters. So there's a good near surface target here that has some bulk tonnage potential. Our last holes at depth down about 400 meters show 50, 60, 70 gram meter product material going to depth. Really good, strong vertical continuity on depth. So there's been an evolution of our understanding. There's been a growth of the mineral systems. We've outlined 4 main zones, the upper footwall, the upper and lower main zone, and the lower footwall zone. These are all showing economic hits in a relatively shallow environment. We can continue to grow these. Looking at it in plan view, the last cross-section showed you sort of right through the middle of this ore body. We've outlined mineralization over about 800 meters. You can see the 2 main zones I've shown here projected to surface, which is the upper and lower main zone, and also the upper footwall zone at the bottom of that map. In red, some of our highlight intercepts. These are formidable. And they're also occurring in an area where there's 4 mills within 20 kilometers of us. This is a very, very strong looking gold system, one we think we can grow into a resource, and one we think has economic potential. Touching back to our last drill hole. And this is something we released just before Christmas. It was drilled in Q4. It's the deepest drill hole drilled on the property. And really, the geology in this environment, felsic volcanics host sheeted veins, that's the yellow mineralization in the center. At depth, we saw this nice zone, the lower footwall zone, and it was pretty continuous, and we wanted to take a good step out at depth, so Anders and his team stepped out about 150 meters. We were really looking for a step change in geology, and what we saw was quite a change. We actually saw a thickening in the system, the alteration package, mineralization's about 30 meters wide here. We saw a really distinct hanging wall vein, and we actually saw a really good thick zone of mineralization. It's about 5 grams over 13 meters with a high-grade core, 10 grams over 4.5 meters. This was one of the best intercepts we've drilled to date on the property. It's the deepest hole. It remains wide open. Step change in geology was there in terms of showing thickened alteration, strong veining, and good gold continuity on this. So I think we can continue to grow this lower footwall zone. We're still down at about 400 meters, so I think there's lots of room to grow it on dip. There's certainly lots of room to grow it on strike. So I think we're on to something that looks pretty interesting here at the Montclair gold system. Now, if I just stood back a little bit and looked at the overall Gold Arm property here, that's the area in red at the top of that map. It's 30 kilometers in strike length. We abut Agnico Eagle. We walk on to some of the McEwen ground, and our neighbors like High Gold have done a great job with the Onyx guys next to us, and we're all on strike from Ben Gibb. This is a really well-endowed piece of the Abitibi. Aljo is an interesting showing. It's 30 kilometers from Montclair. It's a historic gold mine from the 20s and 30s. We have 8 pending drill holes from this target. Expect a news release in the coming weeks. Core looked great. I'm sure we'll have some good results to talk about here, and I'm confident we'll be back drilling at Aljo here in Q1 of this year as well. So it's not just Montclair and Aljo. It's a suite of targets across this area where we're quite compelled by it. And when we think about it, the geology is also fertile for VMS-style mineralization. There's certainly nickel potential on this belt of ground. We're doing generative work to grow the target pipeline on top of Montclair and Aljo, and I'm optimistic we'll continue to build a pipeline of targets across the Gold Arm property. So when we step back about the vision for 2024, we want to drill about 8,000 to 10,000 meters this year. I certainly see us expanding Montclair and continue to drill high-grade gold systems at depth and along strike. Aljo looks very attractive to us, and the suite of targets that we're building outside Aljo equally is compelling. I won't touch base on Pen and Dore too much, but suffice to say, they are 600 square kilometers in their tenure. They're sandwiched between Newmont and Côté and Evolution. We have majors all around us. We're exploring these tenements as well. We're building drill targets across those properties, and I'm confident that there's a lot of value to be unlocked in Pen and Dore. And when I would just go back to us and say there's 150 million ounces of gold in that map, we hold a lot of ground here. We're seasoned explorers. We're coming up with a number of economic intercepts to date, and we're backed by some of the most sophisticated shareholders and investors that are out there. The Abitibi is half of our portfolio. It's where we spend a lot of our money. We also control a large asset in Wyoming. called Rattlesnake Hills. I think it's a very interesting asset. It's not our priority from a spend perspective, but I do think there's a lot of value to be unlocked here. It's an alkaline gold district. There's about $40 million and about 100,000 meters of drilling that's been done on here, 2 main deposits. I think it's a great opportunity. We're reviewing a variety of strategic paths for this asset. You can see some of the drill intercepts here, 60 meters at 10 grams. This is actually a really interesting asset. So we're looking for the right path to advance this in. We're going to stay focused on the Abitibi, but we control 100% of the Rattlesnake Hills project as well. With that, I'll leave it. GFG, we're a district scale explorer focused on the Abitibi. We're a great technical team that's found mines before. We're returning a number of economic intercepts with a good balance sheet. We've got a catalyst-rich 2024 ahead of us, and I think we're really on to something with the Montclair project. So with that, I would invite any questions, any interest to stop by our booth, just out the doors to the left, and I'll let everybody go for lunch now. Thank you very much.